All right, we're going to continue now our coverage of that pileup that closed I-70 near the tunnels for hours yesterday. 19 people were hurt, one person seriously. The interstate was closed, as we said, for about 4 to 6 hours while investigators started sorting out what happened. 9 News legal analyst Whitney Traylor helps us sort out everything for us. So we figured, as we were sitting here yesterday looking at that crash, we were thinking to ourselves, how are they ever going to figure out, because you think about your insurance company, how are they going to figure out, where do they begin to find out who's responsible for this, to sort out the legal aspect of it?
Well, it's going to be tough, and it's going to take a long time, because this is usually when you have more than 2 vehicles, there's a lot of different stories and conflicting stories, and here you have so many people, so they're going to have to reconstruct it. So they're going to have to determine where it started, were the other people who got involved in the accident liable, because it's not just the person, however it started, then there's people who were likely following too close, weren't driving, weren't paying attention, and then that's how things got exacerbated. So it's going to be months and months to really determine that, and they're going to use witness statements, dash cam, police reports. There's going to be a lot that goes into it, but these are complex situations that take a long time, and they're expensive to litigate, and then you have all the insurance companies involved as well.
So like in a plane crash, they rebuild the plane, like they're going to look at the cars themselves too.
Yes.
Like the damage, like maybe the force of damage, and estimate the speed that driver was going.
Right.
So let's say there are multiple people deemed at fault.
Right.
Then if you're one of the victims that just ran up onto this, you sue, or you apply, not sue, but there probably will be a lawsuit. But you would get money from all those different companies?
Well,
who would pay the most?
Yeah, and it really depends on how much you're at fault. So we have a modified comparative negligence standard in the state. So that means, for example, if there was somebody who got hit, but they were speeding, let's say, and the jury determined, you know what, you were 10% at fault. So you were going to recover $100,000, they would reduce that by 10%, and you'd only recover 90 grand. But if you're more than 50% at fault, you won't recover. So that's why but some states have it where if you're even 1% at fault, you don't recover anything. So that's not how Colorado is. That's a pretty harsh rule there. So here, when there's multiple people, they're going to have to determine who was at how much everybody was at fault. And the insurance companies are, of course, they want to, I don't mean to disparage the insurance companies, but I've seen it time and time again. They're trying to avoid liability. So if there's an opportunity to blame somebody else, they're going to do it. And here there will be. And if it goes to trial, there'll be experts, there'll be insurance representatives, there'll be so much testimony, and you'll be able to get experts on both sides that said, you know, no, this was this person's fault, or it was this person's fault. There may even be some claims of manufacture if somebody's brakes didn't work properly. I mean, all of that comes into play.
And like you said, with more than 2 cars, you have more than 2 people, you have more than 2 companies. And you're talking not just about insurance companies or how much someone is at fault. What happens, I'm sure with 70-something cars, there might have been someone who's uninsured in that mix, out-of-state people. What happens there?
So hopefully, that's a no-no. You're supposed to, it's the law to carry a minimum amount of insurance, but of course it happens a lot. So then if there's no insurance, hopefully your policy has an underinsured motorist or an uninsured motorist. So that means if somebody is liable and they don't have insurance, but you had the uninsured motorist coverage, your insurance company will then pay that, and then they'll go after that person. And then, of course, if there's no insurance at all, you can always sue somebody individually, but of course, most people don't have the type of money that it would take to make these repairs.
And then I think of the people that were hurt. People that are in the hospital, that have medical bills, long-term needs. It takes that long for them too?
Yes, it takes so long, and that's part of the problem. So the insurance companies won't necessarily pay out everything right up front, because there's something called the single recovery principle. So that means if you have ongoing medical issues, you can only go after them once. So you can't, you know, if something pops up 10 years from now, you can't sue them again. So that's why if anybody's been in an accident, their personal injury attorney would send them to the doctors until the doc says, you're fully recovered. Then they take all those medical bills. They say, okay, you're going to have surgery. I had an accident on my way to DU. I was teaching at DU, the law school, and I got hit, and we went through that whole process. And then the doc said, well, you have this injury to your neck, and you'll probably need surgery in 30 or 40 years.
Ooh.
So he's like, it's like a used tire. It's just going to wear down.
Yep.
So the lawyers had to make a demand and include he's going to need this surgery down the line. So that's the single recovery principle. And so that's why these cases, if anybody's had a personal injury, even like a leg, they broke their leg, they had to wait until it was recovered so they knew the extent of their medical injuries. And then, of course, then you have lost wages, loss of enjoyment of life, loss of consortium. So all these things come into it. And imagine just you or I being on the jury trying to decipher all of that. This trial would be weeks and months.
At the end of the day, it's as big a mess as it was yesterday on the highway. There's no easy.
I feel bad for everybody because now they begin their process of calling and waiting and waiting.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And it's difficult, and there's the trauma along with an accident. That's really scary. So I heard the police saying, hey, drive slow, pay attention to the roads, and that's all good advice, especially when you have these bad conditions. It's like, just take it easy.
So that you don't have to deal with everything you just laid out for us.
Exactly.
That is a nightmare.
Yeah.
All right, Whitney, thanks so much, as always.
Yep.